In today's podcast, we're traveling between Dublin and Galway, taking two routes that give you very different experiences. Dublin and Galway are almost directly across the country from each other, and they're two of the most popular city bases in Ireland. Traveling between the two, whether east to west or west to east, is one of the most traveled routes in the country. I'm going to begin with the most common and the quickest route, which is the motorway. Now, just for your information, there are two tolls on this route. You're going to leave Dublin on the M4, and then about halfway through, you are going to very seamlessly switch to the M6. The M4 has a toll at Kinnitty, which, depending on which direction you're going, that's where you're going to find the toll. And then the M6 has a toll to the west of Ballinasloe. Depending on your route near Dublin, you might also use the M50 ring road, which is a barrier-free electronic toll. Now, you can visit the show notes because I have a link in there that has more information about toll roads, as well as why I say that most people don't need the extra cost of a toll pass when they rent a car in Ireland. So back to our route. Most travelers leave Dublin City via the motorway. So like I said, the M4. And then near Kinnitty, you're going to have a very seamless switch to the M6. Now, the drive between Dublin and Galway is about 2.5 hours, but it can be more if you happen to arrive or depart either city during rush hour. This route is terrific for travelers who want to make the quick trek because it is an easy drive across the country, and you will arrive into Galway City in the early to mid-afternoon, so it's enough time to really enjoy the highlights of Galway City, and then you have that evening of music and pubs and fun. So the majority of people who make that drive have one stop en route in mind, and that is Sean's Bar. Located in Athlone, Sean's Bar is the oldest pub in Ireland and in Europe, with claims of being established since 900 AD. So if you have a visit to Sean's Bar in mind, here's what you need to know. The area that Sean's Bar sits on has long been a gathering spot for travelers. It began as an inn at the crossing point of the Ford of Lough, or Athlone in Irish, where you can see the name of Athlone has been anglicized. Today, this is a popular spot for group and bus tours because it breaks up the drive between the cities. The front of the pub has that old Irish pub feel, the long wooden bar, cluster of tables of fire in the hearth. There's wood shavings on the floor that help with any spillage. And then if you explore a bit further back, you're going to find a few cozy snugs, memorabilia, and nautical items on the wall, as well as there's a would you call it a window? A spot in the wall that shows you the original wattle and wicker wall of the building. So the old wall in the building is available to see through a small window from when they did some remodeling. Beyond that, the pub opens up into an area beer garden, but most daytime travelers pop in for a quick pint and then back out of it again to continue their drive. If you can stay a bit longer, Sean's Bar does have workshops. You can learn to pour a pint of Guinness, you can enjoy a whiskey tasting, or you can sit down with an Irish coffee and learn about the pub's history. If you want a really great meal before you get back on the motorway, I highly recommend the Left Bank Bistro, which is just across the street. So if you're leaving the pub, you turn left and across the street, it's right there. Really, really great spot for some wonderfully fresh, homemade, terrific food. Now, if you are driving yourself, parking at Sean's Bar is very limited. You're going to come off the motorway, cross the bridge over the river. You're going to come down and you're going to see the bar directly in front of you. To the left, there is a tiny, tiny bit of parking. You can expect that to usually be full. So you're going to just follow the curve back up the hill. There is public parking just up the hill, both indoor and outdoor. It is paid parking. So be sure that you can either use the app to pay. You'll have to download the app and use that to pay by card, or have a little bit of change on you, a few euros, and you'd be set. So this route, like I said, is best for people who want to have an uninterrupted afternoon in Galway before they either move on from the city or they stay for a few days and do some day tours from that base. Now, if you have more time, so you have a full day to spend traveling to Galway, like at least 6 hours, or even better, you have 2 days in between your Galway and Dublin stops, I like the route that drops south of the motorway. This route is going to include some whiskey if you want it, a wonderful castle to visit, plus another to stay at, a parkland to roam, and the monastic site that was once the crossroads of Ireland. So if you're departing Dublin via the M4, you're going to continue on to the M6, and then at Kilbeggan, you're going to turn south and follow the N52 to the town of Birr, Birr. In Birr, you're going to find Birr Castle Domain. I think it's one of the best castle attractions in the country, but it is so often overlooked because it sits kind of in the middle of the country in County Athlone. It's off the motorways, and yeah, it's driven past so often. They have there an incredible science center. So the family of the Earls of Ross were very scientifically minded. They dabbled in everything from submarines and suspension bridges to astronomy and photography. In fact, the Leviathan, which is the largest telescope in the world up until the 1920s, sits in the Birr Castle domain. Now, beyond the Science Center, which is really great for kids of all ages, right? So from toddlers to teens, this is a really great spot. But as an adult, we found it really interesting, just kind of seeing the progression of science and, where things began in the 18th century with so many things. They were on the cutting edge of so much, and it was just fascinating for me as an adult. But beyond that science center is more than 120 acres of grounds and gardens that you can explore at your leisure. The castle is still a private residence, but if you time your visit right, castle tours are available during the year, and you get to view 3 or 4 of the rooms on the main level. So you've got your entryway, a beautiful sitting room, I want to say a library, and then there's one more, I know there is. But it really is a very interesting tour. If you're lucky, like when we were approaching the castle, Lady Ross was leaving and just gave us a nice wave. So it is still a home, and it's kind of fascinating to see today and yesteryear kind of all merging together. So it's a really fascinating spot to visit if it is open. If you're traveling with kids, they will definitely want to spend some time in Ireland's largest treehouse. So this is almost a fantasy castle that they can climb and slide and survey the peasants below, or the parents below, and just have a really great time. The last time we were there was a bouncing pillow and some other things. It's a great spot to sit and let the kids really run out their energy. And it's so charming. I wished I could explore it a bit more myself, but it is kid size once you get in there, and maneuvering through as an adult is a little tight. The on-site cafe is open spring to autumn, and it's a great spot for lunch or a quick snack before you head out on your way. I recommend 2 to 3 hours at Birr Castle Domain to fully enjoy the experience more if you do have the time. Leaving the castle and traveling back toward the M6, I recommend a stop at Clonmacnoise. Now, this is actually where Ireland's crossroads were in the 6th century. So you had the north-south of the River Shannon and the east-west route through the boglands. So they had to have, the path had to be right, or you were sinking into the bog. So this is where that crossroads was in Ireland. St. Kieran founded Clonmacnoise in the 6th century, and it became a great center of learning, religion, and trade. So we're back into the saints and scholars time here. Visitors today are going to find extensive remains of churches, 2 round towers, 3 terrific high crosses, and castle ruins just outside the grounds. I think a minimum of 90 minutes there at Clonmacnoise if you really want to explore and study those high crosses. They are fascinating. So 90 minutes there for a full in-depth exploration is terrific. And do remember that Clonmacnoise is an OPW heritage site. So if you are thinking about an OPW heritage card, which I will link more information on that in the show notes, this is a great site to visit. Continuing on to Galway from there, you will arrive in the late afternoon or early evening. So again, this is a full day trip, 2 main stops, but really a terrific experience to get off the motorway. If you're planning an Ireland trip, the most important question isn't what to see. It's what you want to experience and how you like to travel. When you start kind of studying what there is to see and do in Ireland, everything sounds amazing. The challenge is figuring out what makes sense geographically, what's realistic to combine, and how to avoid building an itinerary that looks great on paper but feels rushed in real life. And that's exactly why I created the Ireland Travel Compass. It's a step-by-step planning framework that helps you understand Ireland's regions, see how places relate to one another, and build a route that flows before you start booking nights and locking yourself into decisions. Take a look at the full show notes to see how the Ireland Travel Compass map can help plan your itinerary, and learn more at irelandfamilyvacations.com/compass. Now, just off of both routes that I mentioned, you could add a distillery experience. So if you are a whiskey connoisseur or want to be one, there are 2 options for you on this route. The first is Kilbeggan. Now, this is right on the M6, so it's right at a roundabout. And at Kilbeggan, you can have a whiskey experience there. Very important to note that no children under 12 can join you on this experience. So if you are traveling with children, either you need to have somebody who doesn't want to do the whiskey experience to stay with them, or you're going to have to skip it, unfortunately. Another option is to continue south on the N52 to Tullamore Distillery. Now, this one is strictly over 21, so no children at all. And advance booking for both of these experiences is highly recommended. At the very, very least, take a look at their website for the day you plan to do this trip across the country and just check times and availability to know if you have a chance of getting into one as you make your way across the country. If you can do this trip in 2 days, you can add a castle stay. Not far from Birr is Kinnitty Castle. I love this castle for its affordability and the authentic feel to the rooms, especially the baronial rooms that have exposed stone and wood. Now, the baronial rooms are all at the top, and there's no elevator, which I will mention in a minute, but stunning, beautiful rooms. This is a spot that you come to for a relaxed and unhurried stay. There's no spa. The on-site activities are few. There's horseback riding if you arrange it in advance, archery, tennis, and you are also in the Slieve Bloom Mountains, so hill walking is a very popular activity here. The Castle Ferry Trail is amusing, even if you aren't traveling with kids, and the meals here are very good. The dungeon is a really fun spot for dinner, and they do serve a lovely afternoon tea. I think the library bar may be the best spot to sit by the fire and enjoy a drink and a chat with friends. But again, important to note, there is no elevator in this castle, so it has not been completely modernized. There are rooms that are ground level or one short level up, so you don't have to climb too many stairs to get to quite a few of the rooms. But I recommend only bringing what you absolutely need, or recommending a ground floor or low floor room if you don't want to climb a lot of steps. So if you have stretched your trip into 2 days across the country and you're looking for one more outdoor experience, so let's say that you've come over from either Galway or Dublin, you have visited Birr Castle, you spent the night at Kinnitty, and now you just want one more thing before you head to the city, I really recommend the morning at Lough Boora Discovery Park. So this is a former peat bog that has been given new life. So it was a lowland bog. All the peat was farmed out for heat sources. And the Parklands now welcome visitors to enjoy natural and man-made lakes, wetlands, woodland areas, walkways, and pasture land. The girls and I, we've been there and fed the ducks. We did a little bird watching. It's just really a beautiful, open, natural area. There is also a sculpture trail, and I absolutely love this sculpture park because it was created with the history of the peat bog firmly in mind. And actually, some of the sculptures use the tools from the peat bog. There's like one of them uses the train that was used to haul the peat out. So really just a fascinating walk through that. You're also going to find a Mesolithic, so Stone Age site, a ferry trail, bike hire, angling, and as I mentioned, bird watching. So it's a really great outdoor activity before you head into one of the cities. I hope this podcast gave you just a couple of ideas for your drive between Dublin and Galway. Whether you're going east to west or west to east, it really is a great drive. And if you get off that motorway, there is so much waiting for you to discover. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a 5-star review at Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you can't leave a review on your podcast app, visit IrelandFamilyVacations.com/trust and say a few nice words on Trustpilot. I would really appreciate it. If you have questions or comments, you can email me, Jody, Jody, at IrelandFamilyVacations.com. As always, thank you so much for listening, and until next time, slán go fóill.